and nothing but love for Roman D'Ambrosio, who did so much footwork to get this up and running. Thank you, Roman. So, Cars and Women magazine would like to present Paralyzed by Choice, a live reading of some of our finest writing. So, first and foremost, I'd very much like to introduce our first reader, the Intercontinental Heavyweight Champion of the all-female Kumite, Meg, Superstar Princess. Come on down. You're the next contestant.
Hi, everyone. Alright, I'm reading another poetic interlude by Dingbat. Hug hard enough our hearts touch. Coming of age in the court of infant kings. We are warm and lost in the halls of this place. The walls, once a comfort, suffocate. Fear will never take me alive, but the grasping hands drag me to love and light. Namaste.
Our next reader does not want you to sell your cloak to buy a sword. He does not bring peace. He just wants you to follow him on Instagram. Please give a hand for Mr. Alex Bienstock.
You probably know the people are meant, not for the fan reason. I'm talking emotionally, psychologically. People pretend to be different people depending on who's around them. Strangers, all you devils, they must be a little on the artistic spectrum. We all know I ain't somewhere anyhow, but that's not the point. When faced with the ability to create and use an anonymous or pseudo-anonymous online persona to then interact with people on cyberspace, it gives you a certain freedom. Special speed can afford in meat space, a freedom from the responsibility to maintain a polite space amongst puritanic company. Metasexual. If this treatise were written about 20 years ago, people would assume I mean literal 9/11 and satanic chroniclers. We might have seen Cuban rope. But that isn't necessarily the case anymore. A hilarious roll flip has occurred, granting the truly even more insane and death flip on the cover of gift sales. Keep watching it, let's see. I just don't know anymore. You can feel free to disagree with me here, but you can't ignore the consequences. People who self-identify as groups, not even necessarily needing the physical requirements of a certain slated and some-way persuasion, are being an unusual spotlight. The important part is the self-identification. There are black people who aren't black. There are people who have sex with the opposite sex. Women are dicks. Well, men are dicks. That's what I'll do. At some point, playing Kamp around 2014, 2016. It's already said, fuck it. Be who you think you really are. This is great if you wish you were gay, so you can go to girls' sleepovers and look at their tits without having to buy adult diapers. 5 years from now, the life of all paralyzed. Or if you wish you were a dog, instead of a goat with a job. Since it is socially condoned, and gamers could now acquire a marriage license. These people getting the fucking same protection! Since they require more than one God! Just be anything. But that's antithetical to what you just fucking said. Special animals and kids. But that's probably going to change within the next 10 years. And even then, there are subgroups within these groups. Kicks and squads and clans. Does being authentic matter? At what point is being authentic? Can I just act like this in real life? Which means real. The one online, or the one who's reading, typing, interacting with the physical realm?
How's everyone doing so far? Good? Not bad? Just yell something. That'll mean the world and more to me.
Bipolar type 1, so that's a complicated question.
Our next reader is an actress, comedic performer. Among other things, really. I don't want to talk about the things that landed her in the pen, but that was then, And this is now. You can see her currently in The African Desperate by Martin Sims, out now in theaters and streaming. She's been featured in Curb Your Enthusiasm, Search Party, The Scary on 61st Street, and maybe an uncredited... Her one-woman show titled Tragedy premiered at Joe's Pub in August and will have a run at the Elysian Theater in Los Angeles in January of 2023. I hope she remembers us all when she's top of the world and dining on nothing but caviar 3 times a week.
Thank you!
Ladies and jerks, Ruby McCollister.
Excuse the intro. I'm an actress, and I'm entering the void now. I will be reading a piece called Happy People by Hister Grant. Applause, please, for that. Thank you. I had a very happy life with happy friends and a happy husband, if you can believe that. My son, Scott, was happy too. And then he entered his final year of secondary school, staying on with a view to attending university, studying what? He didn't know. All of his friends had left school, so he was almost alone in the year, but his girlfriend Sally had stayed on, and we liked her very much. She was friendly, very pretty, and smart. She seemed to have a bright future, too. But 3 weeks into the new year, she had an accident on a motorway. She came off of a motorcycle doing 60 miles an hour, slid across the road, and had both of her legs crushed by a lorry. She was rushed to the hospital where her legs were amputated almost immediately. Scott said the thought of leaving her didn't even pass through his mind. When he first saw her with no legs, she was his Sally, and they were soulmates. He was heartbroken. She'd emerged from the hospital a cripple and be in a wheelchair for months, wearing a single artificial leg only for showering. They do that. They replace both legs, and if they're cut off beneath the knee, but if they're both cut off high up, like Sally's, you get one artificial leg, because artificial legs aren't robotic, and you can't use them to walk on. You have to use 2 crutches to move around. Needless to say, I was mortified too. Sally was like a part of our family. Scott and Sally were inseparable. Scott visited her every day. I was so proud of Scott during those 2 weeks and was sure that Sally's love for him must have burned fiercely. But now, I'm not so sure. When her release day came, we were going to take her back to stay with us for a week. We were driving home along the motorway when I heard the click of a seatbelt being released, and taking my eyes off the road for a moment, I looked over my shoulder to see Sally open the door and roll herself out onto the road. I screamed her name. Scott, who had been sitting beside her, only turned his head when I screamed. We both watched her spin away behind us. That is the last thing I remember before losing control over the car. I woke up in the hospital bed and was informed that I had been in a 6-car pileup and that I had 2 broken ribs, a broken shoulder, and a broken arm, but that my son was okay. But that Sally had been driven over by 2 different cars and was now dead. I still wonder at her. Was she just waiting for the first opportunity to kill herself? Or was it a spur of the moment decision? Either way, I hate her. I am no longer a happy person. My dreams are haunted by that moment, and during the day, sometimes thoughts of it have me on the verge of being physically ill. Scott has become clinically depressed and had to leave school. My husband, Aaron, is also very unhappy. He's a sensitive man, and being around so much unhappiness weighs heavily on him. I would say our lives have been destroyed by her, but saying that makes me feel very uneasy. Because in the back of my mind, I know that she got off far worse than us. It's perverse. Even my fear that Scott will take the same way out as her will always be eclipsed by the horror of a pretty young woman losing both of her legs and the agony that drove her to take the first opportunity that arose to end her life. Thank you.
Our next piece was written by none other than our beloved Roman D'Ambrosio. He sent this in as a one-act play, and it holds the current record of Cars and Women magazine's editorial board going, "Holy shit, what is this guy's deal? Get him on board." It will be performed by none other than our very own Beckett Rosset and Bob Laine.
Is there the other white chair anywhere?
It's right here.
Oh, here we go. Sorry.
There's a clock.
Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you.
So sorry.
We're not using the mic.
Are you listening to the birds?
No. I'm thinking.
Maybe you waste time. You should be aware of your surroundings.
Can't do both.
Well, so you think or listen.
And what do your surroundings tell you?
Presence. I'm aware of my surroundings.
And what do those surroundings tell you?
I'm revealing harsh nature again.
Crazy old man. Singing birds isn't harsh.
It's not the fact that they're singing, it's who they're singing to.
I see 4 small birds circling one big one.
A hawk.
This is harsh nature. The hawk will kill them.
Exactly.
I don't need to see birds killing each other. I've already seen humans do it.
What you need right now is a rubber and a clean whore.
That's not what I need right now. But maybe. But I can't guarantee that the whore would be clean.
And the rubber?
Do I look like a pig to you?
The way the years have treated you? I don't know which to roast and which to kiss.
I've seen your wife. You'd kiss the pig.
Better than those endless girls in the party.
I only knew half their names when we got them.
They were something.
They believed in us, in the cause.
Those were good days. Been thinking about the day I joined.
Damn good days. How old were you?
20.
I was 22.
We just finished our first rebellion.
Rebellion is a big word for a bomb.
A bomb that meant something.
And where did it go?
Underneath a bus in the middle of the night. Time for the morning.
I mean the something.
The something?
Yes, where did the something go?
I don't know. We didn't know what we were doing.
Liar, it grew with the bomb. It helped you make more bombs.
We did the best we could.
I can't believe we got away with what we did.
I can't believe my mother didn't shoot us for doing everything that we did.
You remember that boy who just joined? The one who made the bad bomb?
He was just married. And it wasn't a bad bomb. I know, I'm the one who made it for him.
Wasn't bad?
He was connecting the wires and his wedding ring joined the circuit.
How old was he?
Couldn't have been older than us.
A martyr. That was all it took. Close a circuit and you're set. My son is 26, just married.
His wife, she's healthy.
Yeah.
Good. Good for children. Good more for a wife that is healthy.
She is a healthy woman.
We women. Lots and lots of women.
Attracted to power or influence. Nobody knew what we were going to do next.
You don't have that today. Not today. We had passion in those days. We truly believed in what we fought in.
The struggle continues today.
It's not the same. Today the men only talk of ideals of what should and shouldn't be done. They have no risk in it. They have no honor.
Their energy is refocused.
Their energy is gone. They want to run back to their mother when bullets are fired back at them.
Were you not scared after your first battle?
I was scared, but I kept moving. That is what it means to be a man.
It takes from a man to kill the innocent.
The innocent are not who we fought.
Did they not have families and wives too?
They needed a purging. All of them. Freedom means a little death. That is the stage that they set up for us. Weak little birds continue to peck and belittle the hawk. The hawk doesn't know its own power until it fights back. And then the birds sing no more.
We fought back.
We did more than that. We liberated our people from oppression. We purged the establishment. These boys today have no idea of the cost. They don't have any plans. They don't have any uniforms. Do you remember our uniforms in the places we occupied?
We were strutting beasts back then.
Good times in the cities we occupied.
Not just the cities, the villages, the farms, the whole world!
We dreamt of the command post.
That shack.
It was our palace. It was our court of justice. We ended all dynasties there.
Family after family executed.
And rightly so. Their kind will never breed again.
I remember we made a whole game of how far we could stretch the hanging wire around the room so that it could still work.
They even went out to the porch. The blood stayed inside for days. The smell even longer.
You remember when I wore my white pants?
I never thought you'd make such a joke of yourself so much since then.
My whole pants. Red. Those were my favorite pair.
I knew the woman who made those pants. She was my neighbor as a boy.
I could have used her that day. What became of her?
I killed her. She collaborated with the enemy, trying to keep her son from joining us.
Dirty tramp.
She used to give me candy as a kid. My mother couldn't afford any.
Dirty tramp who betrayed her people.
I should think it that way.
We do not get the respect we deserve. These boys today, they do not want to hear it.
No one wants to hear it. They're drowning it out. Drowning out the screams.
Screams of our oppressors. We freed our people.
And where did we bring them?
Look, the birds are back. More of them now. Are you gonna listen?
No. I'm thinking instead.
Ladies and jerks, we're going to be having an intermission, so go stretch your shit out, have a smoke, get a drink, and come back in 15 minutes, all right? Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Thank you. All right. If you want to know who your girlfriend has been looking at this entire evening, it is a gentleman who eats more pussy than cervical cancer. He is wiser than a fortune cookie and represents me in all matters of internet court. Ladies and jerks, Munoxxus.
I don't know what I expected anything other than that exact thing. You were like, what should I say about you? Thank you, sir. Am I good?
You're good, you're good.
All right, so this is called Go Watch Someone Die. Have you ever done it? Surely in the internet-obsessed world, whatever year it is out there, you must have. It's hard to imagine that someone hasn't. I've watched a kid drown while bystanders swam by, a man get necklaced, which if you don't know what it is, go look it up. I also watched someone jump out of a building and just fall straight to their death. And that was just this week. So, the worst of them has to be the old terror snuff videos that went around for a little while America was off fighting for terror or oil, something like that. Lots of old Middle Eastern torture stuff out there, but the gurgling noises, if you've heard them, you know what I'm talking about. They'll haunt you forever. You've seen something like that, right? Everyone here? If not, then you know someone who has. For some of us, it's a regular occurrence. Doctors, nurses, EMTs, soldiers, morticians, they deal with that thing daily. Imagine the stomach someone has to see that thing every time they go to work. Hell, once is traumatizing enough, and some of those people made a career out of it. They can watch people die and wonder what's for dinner later. The point is, there are people in this world who carry that burden of steering us through the world of death on their shoulders. If not online, then you know someone out there who's dealt with that, right? Watching strangers get ruined is horrible, and probably not good for one's mental health. So is breaking the news to someone that their loved one is gone. It's definitely worse to be there as they go. You'll really feel it when you're staring down at a hospital bed and you recognize that person. Sometimes it's not even at a hospital, it's out there, in the real world. Watching someone lay on the ground, convulsing, or even worse, they just lay there, motionless. Worst of all, you recognize that person. You care about them. Watch them die, though. It'll fuck you up, real fucking good. Watch as someone you've loved for years lays there with a machine keeping them there. Sit for hours that feel like weeks while doctors do everything they can and nothing at the same time. Then walk outside to the morning sun knowing you'll only see them one more time. In a box. If you're lucky enough to not be the one identifying them at the coroner, which is a really fucked up experience if you haven't done it. Then go the next 2 years trying to put yourself back together, knowing that there's something missing. Nothing like watching someone you care about cease to exist, especially someone whose life has taken up so much of your emotional energy and given some meaning to your very, very meaningless life. The worst part is you have to. You have to sit there and you have to watch, because dying alone is even worse, and they'll do it for you, right? Talk about a one-way ticket to existential dread. And what about going back to normal? You're never going to be normal again. In fact, you'll opine the days of innocence from that point moving forward. So if you haven't personally experienced watching someone die, I cannot recommend it enough. Thank you, Mr. President.
Our next reader is a playwright, performer, producer, certified badass with union paperwork, and has recently started directing music videos. Ladies and jerks, please give a hand for Karen Cecilia.
This is by Alexander Kapke.
Sorry.
I have difficulty sleeping. All over-the-counter medication you can think of, I've tried. Melatonin, Zequel, valerian root, Somonex, etc. At best, those make me slightly drowsy. I've become dependent on NyQuil, but I only use it when I need to get up early for work. The downside of NyQuil is that it makes you too tired when you wake up. As an alternative, I let movies and videos on the internet play on repeat or on an endless playlist, hoping I can drift away. The results vary. Sometimes I can fall asleep, and other times I'm left just staring down at my bed while noise plays on. In these experiments, I've noticed that anything with an excessively loud screaming or knocking noise is not ideal. The screams are obvious, but the knocking is a unique feeling that I've discovered while David Lynch's Mulholland Drive plays on. Every time there was a knocking noise, the film would alert my subconscious feeling of panic, and I'd awake in a paranoid state thinking that there's a presence nearby trying to get in my home. Then, I started playing Mondo films as I attempted to sleep. They're documentaries focusing on real murder and the bizarre. They're often fraudulent or have an insincere tone, or both. I'd end up drifting away to the droning of a narrator and the sounds of a murder. The dog is led into a pound. The condescending British narrator evokes weak against the strong musings in a universe indifferent to our pain. The dog is heard shrieking in agony off camera while the narrator continues on how it's a dog's world. The memories of nasty people at work are forgotten. The screaming customer, irate that we couldn't deliver a coffee table during a catastrophic storm, is in the recesses of my mind as the screaming warms. with images of Africa and hunters mass slaughtering cows. Buildings topple to a rhythmic and melodic beat, and I am content with the detachment from humans. There's often many montages in Mondo films. I'm considering a fan edit of the many montages to form a grim musical. More changes at work, taking away more privileges as critical problems escalate and are ignored in lieu of record-breaking profits. A widow watches the final recording of her husband in his deathbed and muses about life. She watches this tape whenever she wants to be reminded of him. The heat grows, and I can barely make enough to continue on. The mortician being interviewed goes on to answer the ringing phone as the body on the operating table is ignored mid-autopsy. The peeling back of the scalp reveals a concave skull with brains taken away and replaced with dirty rags. My coworkers laugh and guffaw at the simple comedy of meanings and pretend how great it is, this current existence, the idiot glee of the tortured. As I turn over to my side with my pet laying next to me on a pillow, the narrator goes on about 3 pubescent girls raped and murdered by their softball coach. The black and white photographs of the aftermath reflect in the corner of my eye, and the narration is only partly obscured by the intermittent noise of my air conditioner. The narrator reflects curiously on the ferocity of the rapes and murders and how the culprit neatly placed their shoes next to the mass grave. But I've watched it so many times now that it's like on autoplay, like remembering the lyrics to a favorite song. There's been so much violence. A man holds a TV station hostage. At first, he speaks calmly to the reporter, sounding like your average concerned citizen, until he brandishes his weapon and directs the pistol at the wandering hostage. In his meandering dialogue, he confesses to murdering his girlfriend and pleads to an end to violence shortly before committing suicide off camera alone. You would expect my dreams reincorporating these gruesome images, but instead I am greeted by a coming void. All these times of meditation where a song is interrupted by the idiot and grotesque, with noise and presence, they are replaced by a montage of the dead while Dance Macabre plays on. And in that void, I am no longer being robbed of my moment of cherished solitude. In the past, I am screamed at by my mother. I am screamed at my time of service, and I am screamed at by customers. I see a man taking a running leap from a skyscraper to the tune of a comedic melody as an actor claiming to be a doctor warns of the horrors of modern times. In other Mondo, there's a montage of boys and girls raped to death that conclude with a still image of a dead boy where foam is overflown from his agape mouth and it crystallizes. I am numb to it. And I am numb to the customer complaining about attending a funeral and not having a couch. That was Mondo Films Are My ASMR. Thank you.
Our next reader does not want you to know that she will be starring in the Thelma and Louise remake 3 years from now, but until then, Matilda Lynn Berke is a recent graduate of Wesley College. Her writing has previously appeared in Forever Magazine, The Magazine Antiques, Hobart, and the Mars Review of Books, and is forthcoming from Dream Boy Book Club, Compact, and Expat Literature. Please give a hand, ladies and gents.
Hi everyone, I'm Matilda, and this is Beauty, also by Alexander Kennicott. A song rings out. There she is, the most beautiful one of all, the eternal victim, the reciprocal of your pain. She takes it all. So says the lyrics to a most beautiful rape victim pageant. A sponsored banner atop the stage reads, "Kill yourself to win." Brought to you by the pharmaceutical industry. The abused winner steps out with a black eye and pronounced limp. Her slim dress is pulled up by her gimped movements and reveals a belly with stretch marks, with crude tattoos in an attempt to hide the scars of the birth process. Everyone in attendance applauds, and I make note of who applauds loudest, with the women whistling in congratulatory victory, without bothering to be in tune with the song. I think I'm the only one that's actually paying attention to the lyrics, and to others it's just noise. The abused woman weakly holds the microphone offered by the host and gives her thanks to those in attendance and the opportunity for her reclamation of all the pain she has endured and being now the center of attention. And I am reminded of a factoid that heart cells, once destroyed, do not replace themselves with another heart cell. They're replaced with a scar. Thank you.
Our next reader wants you to know not even art can save love. Justin, get your ass up.
I'm gonna sit. No, that's okay.
Thank you.
I'm reading My Funeral by Alex Osman.
Shut up!
Thanks. I want to die in a Buster Keaton-esque slapstick freak accident, crushed by a falling piano, flattened by the collapsing exterior of a house, hit in the head by a suicide jumper in a suit of armor, walking off a cliff and making it 3 feet across until I look down and fall to my death. A car accident that leaves the emergency brake stuck at my ass. It's sad. It's sad. I don't want my life to be remembered or celebrated, just my death. People will say, I don't know who that guy was, but what a way to go. I hope I die in my sleep, a real nice, painless, peaceful death. The mortician will be paid an extravagant amount. Fast food coupons I found on the floor of this sex shop where I bought nitrous canisters to reassemble my body, and twist and superglue my face into the most disturbing, exaggerated smile. Dress me in a Slayer t-shirt, my favorite pair of sunglasses, jeans, and the dirtiest shoes you can find in my closet. Stuff me into a cannon on the beach and launch me into a billboard of Gary Coleman's smiling face. Couples mutually masturbating in the sand underneath old beach towels will pause and look up into the sky. It's a shooting star, honey. Make a wish. I wish I was Irish. A shooting star, an actor on a bad day, shooting his co-stars on the set of the latest melodrama. Lightning in a bottle opened at a crowded flea market. Dirt bike wheels spinning half an inch away from your face. Corey Haim towards the end of his life. 550 pills, a real shit show. Shit Shinola 2022. The revolution may not be televised, but my funeral sure as shit will be. The pay-per-view event of the century, directed by the Three Stooges, slapping and poking and punching and pulling and fighting over the camera. When my body lands, just let the tide take me wherever it wants to. Maybe I'll end up in Brazil, where I claim to have been born in 7th grade. A problem child transitioned into a problem adult. In life, now my soul floats into the clouds, eating falafel and kebab with Rodney Dangerfield and Marion Byron, a problem angel. Look, Mom, I'm finally on TV.
Ladies and jerks, our last reader is Brooklyn's finest. A tree grew in Brooklyn, but Dan Baltic cut it down and wrote a book, Nutcranker. You can find it courtesy of Terror House Press, the co-host of the New Right podcast. Mi hermano, que se llama Dan Baltic.
So, I see a lot of excellent posters out here.
Mercy.
I see a lot of lobies too, but you'll make it. You will. Just keep going. And here is an example of a fellow who made it. T.R. Hudson, who is a friend of mine. He's been on New Right podcast. He is a good writer. He's a friend of Alex's. He's a friend of mine. And he wrote an excellent short story. And I am honored to read it right now. So everyone sit down. You're gonna, you're in for a treat, as they say. Henry was sitting, his hands in his lap. He looked down at them, and they were old and wrinkled and didn't remember even getting old. There was a wedding ring on his left hand. Tessie, he thought. Where is Tessie? And he remembered she was gone. That he remembered. He was wearing his suit. Though it felt big on him, the black one, it used to fit well, and now he was old and weak and small. A young woman was sitting next to him and put her hand on his. She was young and beautiful, and this upset him. Did he remarry? No, he wouldn't do that to her. He promised Tessie, no. Who the heck are you? He growled to the woman who recoiled. Dad, she cried, please, not now. Morgan, pieces of memory like Swiss cheese came back to him. Morgan, his daughter, all grown up. When did that happen? He wondered. I'm sorry, Morgan, I don't. Grandpa, he heard, and a young girl jumped into his lap. Penny, Morgan's daughter. He smirked. It was all coming back to him. He was at a funeral. Whose? He wasn't sure. But as he looked around the room, the dour faces and black dress confirmed it. Not 5 feet away was a coffin, surrendered by flowers. Henry felt Penny embrace him, her short arms unable to touch around the old man's back. She got close to the old man's ear. Do you know who you are, Grandpa? I can't help you if you don't, the girl whispered. She'd done this before. He recoiled, asking her for help, like a game. Honey, my brain's going funny. If I ever do anything strange, I need you to come give me a big hug. I could never forget that. Henry stood and walked out of the parlor, heading to the bathroom. He grabbed a Dixie cup and filled it at the cooler near the bathrooms. He noticed the stalls lined with couches and uncomfortable-looking chairs with side tables next to them and boxes of tissues on them. They were all antiques, older than he was, in fact. And they were still here, and he was still losing his mind. He sipped the water. "Hey, Henry." And the old man turned and saw a younger man. "Cheryl's getting the kids out of the car." We're old school here. Cheryl, the second born. Raven black hair, quiet child. Her boys, not so much. He was remembering. He smirked again. He could get through this. He shook hands with who he assumed was Cheryl's husband, but noticed the McCluskey boy talking to Morgan. Damn kid was always up to no good. They were by the front door and Bobby McCluskey hugged his little girl like they were going steady. He caught them one night after prom in the back of his car. Little bastard had balls. He had to admit. Henry darted for the pair, leaving what's-his-name behind. He'd apologize later, if he could remember to do it. "You little shit, get out of here. How many times do I have to tell you to stay away from my daughter?" Everyone started looking at him, whispering, but that didn't matter. He'd apologize after he took out the trash. "Your father was a drunk, and I won't let you pull my little girl into the hellhole that you call a gene pool. And I feel a tension around the waist." Penny was hugging him. Penny McCluskey, Morgan McCluskey. "Daddy, please, you need to settle down." "You married him? Morgan, I can't believe it. I mean, I thought." "Dad, it's okay," Bobby said, putting his hand on Henry's shoulder. Bobby McCluskey's father was a drunk, a mean drunk, but he was a good kid. He treated Morgan like gold. He remembered that. He never drank, not a drop. He was a good, dependable father to Penny. Tessie liked him. Henry remembered liking him. Henry's head started hurting. Henry started crying, and the whispering people were louder and louder. Nothing was making any sense at all. Cheryl came through the front door and hugged Morgan. Her boys hounded Henry, too rambunctious, not like Penny. They were all young, all of them. They couldn't be that old. He remembered being an old father, but not old enough to be so lost. He settled down and hugged Morgan. He'd been living with her for some time now. He was difficult, but maybe things were getting better. He remembered all of it now. He could keep going, and then, who knew, maybe he'd get a few more good years. They sat down again, and the priest said a few words. He invited them to pay their respects to Henry from the front row. and they were the first to stand. He knelt in front of the casket and signed the cross on his body. Some things were too deep to forget. He reckoned. He said a Hail Mary and looked down into the casket at the young man just lying there. Handsome fella, Henry thought. On the right wrist, Henry noticed his father's watch. He grabbed at his own and realized it wasn't there. He got it when he was 18. Your only son, Henry. I don't have much to give you, but my father gave this to me when I was a grown man, and I figure it's now supposed to be yours. Henry cried, but he did not know why. Some deep knowing compelled the tears, but he couldn't quite put it together. He looked down into the coffin in front of him, and he saw a young man. A handsome fella, he thought. Henry crossed himself one more time and took his seat. A beautiful young woman grabbed his hand, and he felt like the luckiest man on earth to have the attention of a beautiful woman. To his left was a young girl whose eyes beamed at him, and he smirked at her, hoping he wouldn't realize he had no idea who he was. He'd figure it out soon, though. He noticed a ring on his finger. Tessie would fill in the gaps for him. Yeah.
Ladies and jerks, please give a hand to the readers this evening. We're not going And please give a hand to Beckett, who was gracious enough to help us. Big ups to Roman, who did so much legwork in getting this up and running. Please give him a hand. And we hope you enjoyed as much as we did putting it together. And reminder, Cars and Women magazine is the magazine for the man of the new millennium. We're not going to redo that. People with blue ticks next to their names, jerks who have weekly columns, and monthly updates on a Substack you pay for. Cars and Women magazine is so much better than that, and tonight you've seen it. So I'd like to thank you all for coming, each and every one of you. You could have done all sorts of things tonight. You could have stayed home and jerked off. You could have eaten too much. If you're not single, you could have stayed home and fucked and did things you saw in the Kama Sutra. But no, you cut time out of your weekend to come see us. So thank you. Each and every one of you, thank you for pulling through.
Let's have a big hand for Mr. Stainhage, everyone. Let's go.
Te quiero mucho también. So please, if you'd like to stick around for some dancing, partying, and a second-rate soul line where people are wearing masks, please stick around. And if you'd like to buy a copy of the newest issue of the zine, I'll be like right over there in 10 minutes. So if you want to get my attention, throw something at me no bigger than my head. Or your head, right? Yes, you totally can. Mwah. Good night, everybody. Thank you for pulling through.